What's up YouTube, my name is Adrian from MMO's World. Welcome back to the channel. We're taking a look at Albion Online today. We're going to do a first impressions look through at this game. Albion Online is currently in its final beta testing stage before release in July 17th of this year. So we do have a Founder's Pack, the Veteran Founder's Pack, so we'll just go ahead and spend about 15 to 20 minutes checking this game out. We'll see what your first steps in Albion Online is gonna look like. And you know, for very first impressions, the score soundtrack playing in the background right now is fantastic. I can already tell it is a full orchestra setup. It's a great ensemble. The music is really uplifting, which is great. Next thing to notice here is that the graphics are not exactly AAA. I mean, this is Sandbox Interactive, that's the developers. I believe they're based out of Germany. And the premise for this game is it's completely sandboxed, it's open world, it's very PvP centric, all about crafting and progression, and it's also top-down isometric as well. So don't expect to see very high quality graphics and animations. You can see the character models are very, I wouldn't say pixelated, but it has a lot of angles sticking out. In terms of the character creator itself, we have to choose our avatar here. We have a bunch of basic options for male and female as well. Let's go ahead and pick one of these characters here. Yeah, let's go with that. And now we get to customize the way she looks. I can't zoom in, so this is just the basic view that we have. In terms of skin color, there's a decent amount of choices there. Fairly standard and basic. There are 7 hairstyles, I believe. Yeah, 7 hairstyles. Let's just go with that one. Hair color, not a lot of options as well. You can also change the underwear. That's interesting. Let's go ahead and go with that one. And you can change that color as well. So once we're done, we're going to hit the next button. For our name, we'll go ahead and put in MMO's World. And let's check out Albion Online. So here we are in the game world finally. This is what the UI will look like, pretty much top-down isometric view. Graphics are very simplistic, and the developers pride themselves on being a pretty simplistic game because there's a lot to offer in terms of gameplay, be it combat or progression systems. The UI itself is fairly clean. There's some options up here ranging from your mail to your character inventory. There's a guild finder tool and a lot more options as well. At the bottom right we have the minimap, and it says here we are in Highland Landing. So if you hit the M key, that'll bring up the world map, and as you can see here, the world of Albion Online is very huge. New players can pretty much start anywhere, but it's randomly decided. So if I create another character, I could be put here, for example. So if you're playing with friends or you're playing with guilds, you guys need to coordinate where you guys are going to start and maybe meet up somewhere halfway or something like that. That's the M key. The N key will bring up the local map. This is a fairly small starter area. There's a bunch of things to do here. What are these? These are workbenches, and these is a road leading on to the next zone. So besides that, at the bottom here, these are your skill bars and skills. A looks like a saddle, so you can ride horses, and then there's slots 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are all skills and abilities. It's important to note that there are no classes in Albion Online. It's a classless system, so your skills will pretty much depend on what gear you will be putting on. So let's go ahead and progress the game here. We have a beginner set of objectives here. There are no quests, there's no main story. It's pretty much all objective driven and player made stories because it is a sandbox game. So the first thing we got to do here is beginner wood gatherer, which is gather tree logs. Now you don't have starter tools yet, so if you just hover over a tree, which will give you wood, you'll see the icon changes. Clicking that will start gathering logs. Oops, I accidentally killed something there. What is that? That's a marmot. So I'm just gonna get more wood here. And immediately I have gotten a new proficiency, beginner wood gatherer. So everything in this game that you do, be it crafting, harvesting, you will gain progression, and we'll go over that later on. So now we need 3 rough stones. So these are stones, and my icon changes again. So let's go ahead and harvest that. As you can see, it says here 2 rough stone received. Let's get another one. and we have what we need now. Again, Beginner Stone Gatherer is the latest proficiency that we gained, and proficiency later on will probably mean that we'll get more effective at gathering resources, and maybe the higher your masteries, the more resources will yield to. So when you go and gather, you'll get more than the base amount. So the next objective in this starter tutorial is to craft a beginner skinning knife. So we're going to go and get our first tool here. So this is a workbench. It says, "Hello traveler, come closer and have a look." And these icons here on top of the weapons are number 1, so that assumingly means that these are tier 1 items, which is beginners level items. As you progress in the game, the tiers get higher to tier 2, 3, 4, 5. I think the highest tier is 8 at the moment. So we're going to need a beginner skinning knife. Let's go under tools. And here you can see the wide amount of tools here. You got axes for wood, skinning knife to get hides from animals, stone hammer to harvest limestone and other rocks for buildings, pickaxes for ore, and sickle for cotton, which is used for like cloths and stuff. So we're going to need a skinning knife. Let's go ahead and click that. And here it tells you exactly how much resources is needed. You've got item power as well, and the weight. So there is a weight system in Albion Online. Your character sheet to the right of my screen here. It shows you the current weight of my character, and if I'm overloaded, I will be moving slower. So let's go ahead and craft that. Another proficiency gain. Excellent. So it automatically equipped it, so I have that in my inventory right now. And the next objective is to kill a rabbit or a marmot, and we saw a bunch of those running around down there, so let's go ahead and zoom out. By the way, this is the furthest I can zoom out, and this is the nearest I can zoom in. So let's kill that. Proficiency gained. Now I need 8 scraps of hide. So I've got 2 there. Let's get more. So that's 4. And this should be 6. That is the last marmot that we need. Poor guy. Sorry, but I need your skin. There we go. Now the next objective is to craft a beginner's mercenary jacket. That's going to be our first armor piece in the game. It's only tier 1. Let's go back to this crafting thing here. So this is the weapons tab. Under the armor tab, we'll see the jacket over here. So this is going to cost 8 scraps of hide. Let's go ahead and craft that. And I'm automatically wearing it now. So if I click I, that's going to bring up my inventory panel. And here my character's already wearing that jacket. So all the armors and cosmetics, it doesn't look to be have a lot of different designs, and it will reflect on what you wear. So I'm just going to click on that. And here now we can see a lot of information about the mercenary's jacket. It's got a lot of stats here, item value, and of course the item spell as well. So equipping the chest piece is going to give me my number 5 skill, and this is Mend Wounds, which is an out of combat heal. So anytime I'm out of combat, I can just hit the number 5 button, and that pops the healing skill. So a lot of the skills later on in the game you get will again be based on the type of gear you're going to be wearing. Next objective is to craft a beginner's broadsword, and let's just go back and see what materials we need for that. We're going to need 6 rough stone and 6 rough logs, which is really easy to get since resources are everywhere on the world. As you progress in the game, higher tier resources are obviously going to be harder to get, and you're going to have to contest with other players. It's going to be a rush in terms of who's going to get what materials, but they do regenerate over time. Like if I were to go and harvest this wood right now, you see the yellow bar. It's now 0 out of 2, but within 10 minutes it will replenish if you give it some time. Okay, I believe we have what we need. Let's head on back to the crafting station and let's get ourselves that broadsword. And now we have a weapon. It's in my bag. I'm just gonna click it right there and hit equip. And you'll get this notification saying that your spells can be determined by the weapon you have on as well. So clicking that, you'll see there are 2 skills available to me right now, and I can only click 1 to be activated. Let's go with beginner strike. So clicking that, and you can see my number 1 skill here has already been changed. Now if you're playing this for the first time, the hotkeys may not be your numericals, so it may not be 1, 2, and 3. It could be Q, W, E, and so on and so forth. but you can totally customize the key mapping to make it play like an MMO, or if you prefer the Diablo or Path of Exile key mapping, you can set that too. So now that we've gotten a lot of our proficiencies and we've gotten our crafting as well, let's go ahead and move on to the next zone. And there's a whole bunch of objectives again that popped out here. Trainee Gatherer will have to get 240 off this red dot here, and that red dot is something called fame. In Albion Online, a lot of the activities you do will grant you fame. For killing, for crafting, for gathering, almost everything you do grants you fame. And fame is basically the progression currency that is going to get you up the tiers from tier 1 beginner to tier 2 novice and tier 3 journeyman, so on and so forth. So we've just entered a new zone here. This is called Highland Cross. Let's go ahead and open the area map. And as you can see, there's a lot more buildings. Tanner, Lumbermill, Stonemason, Weaver, Mage's Tower. These three right here are your class buildings or archetype buildings where you can go to craft class specific gear, like heavy armor, which is the warrior, light armor, which is the mage, and hunter, which is the medium. And these are all refining stations for resources where you can turn rough logs into planks, for example, to start your crafting. As you can see now here, there's a lot of other players in this area. This large chest in the middle of the map is your bank, so you can actually store your resources here. But it's important to note that the bank is localized, so if you move to another town in the world, for example, and you go to the bank there, your items will not transfer over. It is stuck in this area. Another cool thing about Albion Online is the economy is completely player driven, and what it means by that is everything in the game from weapons to gear and armor are all majority 99% crafted by players. So the economy is driven by that. Players are going to sell what they craft, and it's localized, so every town and every city will have its own economy, so prices may be different in one part of Albion Online, and in the other it could be totally cheaper or more expensive. So this is what the auction house or marketplace looks like. Everything is fairly cheap because it's beginner stuff, and it's going to cost about 2 silver. Silver is the currency in this game, but there's also gold, which is a premium currency. And gold can be used to buy premium status, as you can see here. You can buy 1 day premium service, you can buy 3 days, 7 days, 30 days, all the way up to a year, and these can either be bought with in-game silver or premium gold. So the benefits are you get 20 learning points a day, 50% Destiny board fame, 50% silver from loot mobs. So it's basically a lot of benefits you get for just being a premium, and it is affordable if you look at it this way. Gold can be bought directly from the store, their website, or with silver as mentioned earlier. Now, there's definitely a lot of advantages of being a premium player. Your progression's faster, you have a lot more means in the world, but it's not exactly pay to win, or it's not advantageous because it's fairly easy to earn a premium status by using in-game money. Now, the next thing I wanted to show you guys about Albion Online is the progression board. So hitting the B button will bring you to this huge progression wheel. Anybody who's played Path of Exile will immediately be familiar with this system. So you start down here as a beginner and you move all the way into the center, which we've done, which opens up the basics of everything you need to do in this game. For example, gathering. So in order to gather better resources and use better tools, I need to hit 240 fame, and that will unlock novice tools, which is tier 2. And what that does is it opens up this tier 2 crafting resources, and that's how progression pretty much goes throughout the game. Same goes to gear as well. So if you craft more mage stuff, for example, you craft more journeyman mage equipment, and you can do this by getting fame by crafting a lot of mage gear, you're going to be better at producing higher tiers of mage gear. And over here on the left side of the board is the fighter node. I call these progression nodes in the Destiny board nodes. So the more you fight creatures in the world with a certain type of weapon, like broadswords for example, you'll unlock broadsword specific skills and soldier specific gear as well. So everything that you do in Albion Online, every gear that you use, the more you use it, the better you get at it, and the better staff you can craft. So what else does this game have to do for new players? Well, now that you are in the game and out of that very basic tutorial, majority of your gameplay is going to be gearing up towards getting that fame points, so you can start earning journeyman stuff, training fighters, and majority of that is going to contribute to your gameplay. So yes, it is pretty grind heavy and it is quite intensive. You're gonna have to put a lot of time and effort into this game, but to mitigate that, I highly suggest joining a guild very early on. So in a guild, a lot of players can specialize and help each other out, and a functional guild is like a well-oiled machine. Everybody can do a specific set of skills and can help you out with your crafting too. In terms of PvE, this portal over here is your daily PvE solo dungeon, and doing this will grant you 1,000 silver on top of a bonus 1,000 for completion every day. It does have a power requirement though, so instead of levels, the game checks your ability to complete these PvE expeditions by looking at your item power. So that pretty much means if you click on your broadsword, it'll tell you what your power is. Click on your gear, it'll show you your power as well. So cumulatively, you need about 150 item power to be able to take on tier 3, this solo expedition. It's pretty much just a dungeon, lots of trash mobs, a boss as well, but they do drop a lot of silver, so that's a good way to make money on a daily basis. Now let's go out into the world, let's move on, and let's see if we can kill some stuff. Let's see what the combat is like in Albion Online. Okay, so here we are in a new zone. If you hit the N button again, it will show you what zone you're in. This is Maze Knoll, and this blue square icon here is just to signify that this is a safe zone, so there's no PvP that's going to be happening here. And the interesting thing about PvP is in other zones like yellow zones or red zones, which you can see all around the map. This is a red zone, that's a yellow zone, and then there's black zones too. PvP takes place in all those zones, and the interesting about PvP is if you die, you will lose your items permanently to the player that killed you. So you want to be very careful about what items you bring to those yellow, red, and black zones, and make sure that you're PvP ready as well. So in the open world, you're free to do anything you want in the blue zone maps because it is very new player friendly. You're free to go around and kill things, harvest their hides, and harvest resources to take back to town and begin crafting to earn your fame, to get better gear and better tiered equipment as well. But if that's not a playstyle that's attractive to you, you can always find ways to make silver in game, and you can just buy your equipment straight out of the store. Like for example, here I'm trying to harvest a limestone here, which is a tier 2 resource, but I don't have a tier 2 harvest tool, so I cannot harvest that. So you need to very much get a lot of fame in your opening hour or so just to make yourself effective at gathering resources. And on every map you'll see these green things. These are actually caverns, these are dungeons, open world dungeons. Some of them are for solo players, some of them are for groups. You can enter and start killing mobs. It's a good way to make money. So let's go in and let's take on some, what are those? Those are rats apparently. So let's see if we can kill some rats. So here they are coming to me. I'm zoomed in right now. And that's pretty much the combat system. Every kill you get, you're gonna get fame, as you saw there. Let's find a humanoid who's probably gonna offer a better challenge. And a lot of the game so far has been me just walking or running around, but it does get better because you can get mounts in this game. You can either breed your own animals on your farm, or you can buy horses off the marketplace as well. So here's a couple more rats. I'm gonna hit my number 1 skill now, and there you have it. There's a cooldown, but it's not global cooldown. A lot of the skills will have their own individual cooldown. And at later tiers, when your character gets better, you can get gear that will reduce your casting time, will increase your attack speed. So there's a lot of gear customization as well that will remind you of games like Diablo, for example. And humanoid mobs are a bit more tricky, as you saw there. It's pretty much targeted ground attacks, and each type of enemy will have a certain combat mechanic that you need to be aware of. So get out of the way or you will take a lot of damage, like I did just there. So PvP, on the other hand, is going to be completely different because it's other players who are better at movement and execution of skills. So this game can get pretty competitive, but I will say that it is very much ping and latency dependent. If your latency is bad or you're playing from a part of the world that's very far away from the Albion Online American servers, then this may be a difficult game to play because a lot of it's going to be down to ping, especially in PvP. So that's basically a first impressions look at Albion Online, what you can do, how's your first half an hour to 20 minutes going to look like, and how in-depth the progression Destiny board actually is. And there's a lot of things I have not covered or talked about in depth here, which is, you know, player housing, there's farming, cooking, lots of ways to make money, there's hell gates, which are pretty much dungeons which PvP can take place in, and so much more. But from a new player's perspective, Albion Online is a niche game. It's not exactly a AAA MMO, it's not theme park at all, it is a sandbox game. Players are free to create their own stories in terms of who they want to be, what they want to build, what kind of classes they want to play, and so on and so forth. And in terms of graphics itself, I mean, a lot of players will immediately say that, you know, it's not the best looking game out there. And it's true, the developers do acknowledge that this isn't, graphics isn't one of their priorities in the game. They want to keep it as simplistic as possible because Albion Online is cross-platform, which means you can play this on your Android tablet, and possibly in the future you can play this on your phone as well. So that's going to be really interesting to see if that actually takes off and if it's executed well. And final note about Albion Online, no, this is not a free-to-play game. You have to buy to play it in its current stage, which is the final beta test. But again, the game will release on the 17th of July this year. But if you want to play it right now, you can head onto their website and buy one of the 3 Founders Packs available. So that is it from me, guys. Hope you enjoyed our first impressions look of Albion Online. For more information on Albion Online or MMOs in general, you can head on over to our website at mmosworld.com. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more MMO reviews, previews, and news recaps as well. And as ever, my name is Adrian from MMO's World, signing out.